no matter what you do in life, you got to remain consistent. Consistency should be a part of your vocabulary. It should be a part of your habits. I mean, habits are consistency, right? It depends what you pick up as a habit, and when you pick up certain things, right? You become repetitive in it. It becomes a habit, and soon that habit becomes part of your attitude, your personality, and that attitude and personality reflects who you are. And that is why it's important to pick up good habits or remain consistent in the things that better yourself. And so far, I believe I have been consistent when it comes to my my designs, my artwork, or my characters. Now, I have pivoted out of certain situations or experiences in life that has brought me to this point. So, consistency, right? Consistency requires discipline. If you don't have consistency, you don't have discipline. If you don't have discipline, well, you must not be consistent. And when you have those two, there's a special word or character, attitude that comes with that, is the ability to pivot. And that requires you to be aware of your situations, of your experiences when it comes to be consistent and disciplined, right? You know what is helping you, and you got to know what is setting you back or keeping you stagnant. And that is where the pivot comes in. You got to be adaptable to situations, to pivot yourself, to say, I'm going to go this way. The littlest thing, right? The littlest thing, the littlest pivot, turn that knob or set that degree, 1 degree, and it makes a huge difference in the long run. You may not see it right then and there in the beginning, right? Because let's talk about, I'm going to just use a clock, which I'm going to just say a degree, right? Or a compass, right? You move yourself 1 degree. Okay, I'm gonna move this way. In the short term, you just click, but in the long term, these paths diverge, in a sense. And so, me coming from the bullies, or the bully shows, that is where I've started, or to a sense of, my somewhat of a start, right? And that's where I began to create characters, or these cartoon style of characters. Now I have this beginning, right? Of course, I have Da Vinci Pooh, which was my first character that I created, but I also created 5 other, I would say 5 or 6 designs that I labeled as bully tunes, that I mimicked off of the style that I was doing. Wasn't exactly, because it was just the heads, right? And I created this design for a show. And I gave it all I got with the knowledge that I did have. And I feel like it just wasn't the word respected or received as well as I thought it should have been received. And that's because it was something that wasn't being done. It was something that was foreign, No one wanted to touch it. It was, everyone was into the realistic things, and I modeled this after dogs. And the reason why I did it was Bully Tunes, it was a 420 dog show. And I just felt like if I able to pick up that logo, right? If I'm able to show it, because I think it's on one of my computers, and I don't know if it's on my hard drive. It's probably somewhere buried in my hard drive. But anyways, I modeled it, because it kind of reminded me of like Looney Tunes, where the little pig comes out and it's like, well, that's all, folks. And it has like that little circle and that little banner. That's what I wanted, it was like Bully Tunes, and I have my own little experiences with the what is it? The shisha? No, it's not the shisha. But like the greens, and I was just chilling back. I'm like, used to be in it heavy, and it's like, man, like this stuff's a cartoon. Life's a cartoon at times, you know. I was just chilling. I'm like, this is a cartoon, and so that's why I incorporated it. Was like bully tunes, you know, 420 cartoon bully tunes. It's wacky. It's something different. But you know, a lot of people are doing the realism. You know, still using the dogs, which I understand. You know, people want to promote more of what their current dog look like rather than hey having someone do like a little doodle of it. And yeah, I think it turned out nice. However, I pivoted at a certain situation. I mean, you know, there's doors that open, there's doors that close, and there's doors you get kicked out of, and doors, right? And that's why I can't quote full scripture, but God opens up door that no man can close. God opens doors that no man can close. And that was the door that God opened, which was, well, I know how to do characters. It's my style. This is my style. I'm going to make it my style because I was given this style. So I know how to do characters. And that's why I kept it, right? I didn't even release Da Vinci Poo at this time. I just did the characters and I was like, all right, well, life went on and I decided to release the character at some point in time. That's a story within itself. But it didn't stop me, right? It may have shot my confidence because I was you know, like an amateur or so. You know, when it comes to being an artist, and let's just say this, right? An artist, it requires a lot of confidence in yourself to even put your art out there for it to be judged, right? We put ourselves out there to be judged, and I think a lot of us, or a good portion of us, if we could relate, that we like to just be chilled back, standoffish, or you know, protect ourselves from that world of people judging, you know, people having something to say. We want to protect ourselves, so we say, you know what, I think it's better that we don't put it out there, or I use a anonymous name or whatever, you know, because we want to protect ourselves. It's an extension of us, you know. Art is a extension of how you are from the inside, and so when we share from what's in the inside, yeah, we want to protect it. And I feel like that's what a lot of artists deal with, is having that confidence or that ability to be like, you know what, I'm gonna stand firm in what I believe in, stay consistent in what I believe in and who I am, and have the discipline to, of course, stand firm in yourself. Now, of course, you gotta pivot, right? You gotta pivot. Hey, when you're taking hits or when things ain't working out, you gotta have the knowledge when to pivot. You can't be cynical in your approach. Otherwise, you get left behind, or you don't grow. And so, when I've seen opportunities for me to pivot, I pivoted, and what I've lost, I gained a whole lot larger, right? I moved from one community and opened this door in my city. I'm saying my city, but you know, like we if you're born and raised in a city, you get to say my city. Nah, but you know, it's like I went from one community and I went to a community and I've expanded. I want to say my community, but I want to say I expanded the community that I entered into, or the network, right? I expanded my network. I got to be in other environments. I got to be around fellow artists, whether that be in designing or the theater, or talk to people who have feedback about it, you know, or like how they feel about it. And because of that, it sparked conversation and I got to know people. I mean, hey, there's people that I've had one conversation with, and they you know, keep up with me. Well, you know, they keep up on social media today. You know, we may not message here and there, but I appreciate their support, you know. And that's just how it is, right? That's why they say, the support is going to come from strangers. Um, why is that? That's probably because they get to see you in a certain point or a certain chapter of your life, and they don't see everything else about you. Maybe that's the reason why, right? Everyone has their own reasons. I was going to say so be it, but that's just how it is. And so when I've had that opportunity to pivot, I've made that pivot, slight adjustment, and it brought me into another area of life. Do I still think about certain areas of my life that I've lived throughout the past? Yes, I do. Do I want to go back? At times, yes. However, it's like maybe that's just the nostalgia, right? They say nostalgia is one hell of a drug or something. Nostalgia is it raises your dopamine. When you see something that's like, oh, from your past, it's like, oh man, I remember how that used to be. I really enjoyed that. I wish I could do it again. And nostalgia. However, can't be everywhere all at once. So when I decided to make this pivot, I got to keep myself on this path and realize that what I lost or what I felt like I lost, I moved on. Now, let me say this. The impact that I had on prior, I've seen it. Now, that's just not me talking big about myself, or people could take it however they want, but I could see the influence and impact that has been left. And that is just something what God has allowed me to see. You get put in situations to where it's like you're able to see that. Now, even in the community that I have moved into or moved around in, you get to see the impact and influence. And it's all hindsight and retrospective. And you could sit there and be upset about it, like, man, I wish I could still be there and be able to do what I'm doing. Or you could just see it for what it is and say, well, I moved out of the situations for a reason, not just a coincidence, but I moved out and now I'm here, and what I've been returned, I'm going to keep doing it. Now, have I taken steps back or taken steps to the side or sat back and just let it be? I sure have, right? I sure have. There's times I've taken weeks or months at a time off of what I do. And of course, I focus on other aspects of life. However, there are some things that it's like I should keep doing it. Like, I haven't designed in a minute now. It's been a couple months or a few months since I've designed a character. Just been focusing on other things. I have a daughter now, so very happy about that. And it's like now I have this hunger or this desire, this ambition to make a move. And it's like, how can I make these moves? What do you want me? What, God, what move do you think I should make? Right? And sometimes we think it should be the biggest move ever. Right? We got to make these big moves. And I know I'm all about making big moves. I made some big moves in my life, and my wife, she has seen those big moves and she had to live with those big moves, and I understand the big moves I have made. I'm a risk taker. I don't gamble in the casinos, but I gamble with a whole lot when it comes to my pockets. And that's just how I got to where I am, for better or for worse, but I still make it happen, and I'm getting older now, and it's like, you don't have to keep making big, risky moves. The move is just something so small, planting a little seed. You don't got to go plow the whole yard. You just got to go plant the seeds that you already have. You don't got to go buy the big trees that's going to put a dent in your pocket, right? You already got a pack of seeds that's been sitting there, but you don't want to plant them. Plant the seeds. The little seeds, that's all it takes. And so that's what I've been doing, was planting the seeds, using what I already have right in front of me, right? And that's what I've been doing. And that's how I got to where I am. Of course, when I did have the opportunity to invest, I invested. However, a lot of places or a lot of experiences and a lot of things that I have got to do was because I used what was right in front of me or around me that I already had to make those moves. And so far, it's been working out. Yeah, let's see. Consistency, discipline, and having the ability and awareness to know when to pivot and just remain firm. Stand firm in who you are, what you believe. Well, this is going to be like that contradictory advice, right? Because we want to stand firm in who we are and what we believe, but you're going to have to be able to pivot and adjust your attitude, adjust your character, make the changes to your character, right? Now that's what is going to bring me back and tie it all in, is know where you're growing and knowing what is stagnant and make those adjustments. It's okay. Everything could be, like, I'm not going to say erased. I was going to say, you have a pencil, you could erase it, but then there's some of us who works with pens and you can't erase it. So, just if you can't erase it, you got to accept it for what it is and move on from there. So that's what I have right now. Peace.